almost finished. They're working on the last details and finishing up some of the surfaces and paint and so forth, but we're probably within a few weeks from this thing being finished. And this is the one of two otherwise identical apartments that are located on two separate floors in this building, which is in Kagetane. Just a couple of metro stops from Šišly, which is the major financial district. There's a new subway stop about 8 or 10 minutes walk down the street that in just a few months will connect this neighborhood with a new Istanbul airport that opened exactly 3 years ago, one of the largest airports in the world. So in just a few short months from now, later in 2022, anybody will be able to take the subway directly from the airport, and pretty much this is the first thing that you hit when you reach central Istanbul. That makes it for a very easy commute for anybody who arrives at the airport and maybe have only a short period of time. Maybe they're only staying in Istanbul for as little as a day, and they don't want to be complicated with issues of finding a particular cab driver or anything like that. So this is an ideal geographic position for anybody who is traveling in and out of Istanbul very often. These are two towers, each of them with, I would say, roughly about 100 apartments each, condos. And the first units are just now being delivered here in April of 2022. These units are going to be finished here in the next few weeks with the final cleanup and other measures that will be taken in order to finish up the paint and the various details. It's a modern building with a little bit higher ceiling height than you will find in many other new construction. One of the things to watch out for, I think, in Istanbul when you're looking at new projects is to not only look at the square footage, but also look at the ceiling height. It makes a big difference when you're looking at a new building and looking at the interior. If the ceiling height is very high, that gives a far greater sense of space, and as opposed to where the ceiling height is only, say, 2.5 or 2.6 meters. So that's where we are right now, Angelina. And Angelina is a real estate professional here in Istanbul, Turkey, and she helps clients from all over the world, from the United States to anywhere in Europe, South America, the Middle East, Russia, you name it, Japan, sooner or later North Korea, I don't know. But she helps clients around the world find apartments of all kinds, both old apartments that need renovation and new apartments like this one that don't obviously need any renovation, but just a matter of furnishing and decoration. For older apartments that are 25, 40, 50, 60 years old, that need gut renovations. Angelina has a team of renovation professionals who completely tear the apartments apart and can move walls around, pipes, electrical connections, deal with building new decks, rooftop, all sorts of creative solutions that for somebody who would like to buy a renovation object and spend several months making a renovation, then they can get a place perhaps in a very central location where there are very few new builds available, and they can take a few months to maybe go through a renovation like that and create something that is perfectly to their taste, located in the very central part of certain parts of Istanbul where there simply aren't new build projects like this available. And on top of that, whether the apartment is new or old, whether you're going to use the apartment yourself or you're going to rent it out to somebody, or however you're going to dispose of this property, Angelina also has a team of property management professionals who can make sure that everything is taken care of when you're out of town, and to deal with tenants, the government, the building, the neighbors, and all the issues that come up with, frankly, almost any type of multi-tenant building like this one. But again, this is a new build project. It's almost finished. Just within a few weeks from now, everything will be finished, and a place like this will be ready to be furnished here, hopefully in the next month or so. And with that, Carolina, over there, who has been monitoring the process as well over the last few months. So, Angelina, what would you like to add?
I'd like to add that I'm so glad to have a client like you, so helpful. The client that know what he wants and know how to identify the best property according to his needs, and the client who always thankful and thoughtful about people around. So I'm so happy to have Anton as a client, and I'm also so glad that we could find the properties that meet his criteria, and we are looking for his satisfaction. That is our main goal for every client that come to us and ask us to help them, to assist them in property purchase and in properties renovations.
Yeah, so properties in Turkey come in so many flavors like they do in almost anywhere in the world. Do you want to be in Istanbul? Do you want to be in some other city? There are many beach cities along the Mediterranean, like Izmir and Antalya, and Bodrum and Fethiye and so forth. That's a major decision point for a lot of people. Let's say that you decide to have something in Istanbul. You have to decide on, do I want a new build project or do I want an existing apartment? And if I want an old apartment, is one that needs a lot of renovation or one that does not need a lot of renovation? And if there's a new build project, you have to look at location. New build projects are very difficult to make happen in certain parts of Istanbul, so you may have to you have to compromise a little bit perhaps on the location of a new build project. And you also have to look at what type of new build projects. A lot of new build projects are very focused, or at least were focused in the last few years, on certain foreigners that are buying in Istanbul, whereas other new build projects are really focused on mostly the local market, local Turkish, local Istanbul professionals. I would say this building is more focused on the local market primarily. That doesn't mean that there aren't foreigners buying here. I would be one of them. But it would be a fairly small percentage. You will find other building projects where maybe there's a higher percentage of foreign buyers. So that's another consideration. So just like in any city, there are these major decision points. I will say that at least here in Istanbul, thanks to Angelina and her team, a renovation is realistic. In other words, you can actually do a renovation at a reasonable cost in a reasonable time frame. I know in a lot of other cities where I have done renovations in many countries far, far away from Turkey or Europe for that matter, where a project could end up taking a very long time because labor is very slow, it takes a lot of time to organize things. I think in general, here in Istanbul, renovations can happen a little bit faster. And just like property in general is less expensive than in major brand name European, Asian, and North American cities, the cost of renovation is probably also a bit less here. So whatever you are used to in terms of cost of renovating an apartment in New York or Los Angeles or London or Paris or Tokyo or Hong Kong, I think you'll find that the cost is going to be meaningfully lower here in Istanbul in terms of performing a renovation. And again, that depending on the nature of the project, it may also happen a little bit faster. And that is a consideration because we all know that it's very, very tough to do a renovation no matter where you are in the world. And you want it to take, hopefully just a few months and not a few years. So that's where I think, again, doing a renovation in Istanbul is realistic. So a lot of people who may have otherwise written off the concept of doing a renovation because, Lord, I have done many of them in my life and I will never do a renovation again. Well, here in Istanbul, maybe you want to rethink and say, you know what, that might be the way to go because you can get a property in a very particular location. You can essentially pick the best possible location where you want to live within a few blocks, maybe 3, 4, 5 blocks. Find something there and then totally transform the space. And yes, it will take, roughly speaking, let's call it a year to be on the safe side. But it won't be as expensive as it may have been to do that in Paris or New York or London or Tokyo or Seoul or any other place. And I think that should open up the eyes for a lot of potential home buyers in Istanbul who otherwise would only consider a new build. So that's just one important consideration. So Angelina, maybe you want to say something more about your team that you have in terms of craftsmen and workmanship and basically carpenters and electricians and so forth who are working on your projects. How many do you have? How many projects do they circulate in between? Maybe you want to talk a little bit about what your team can do in terms of design and architecture.
Yeah, thank you, Anton. So very nice introduction of our team and my work. Yes, actually we have 3 teams fully equipped with electrician, carpenter, plumber, and all other contractors that complete demolition and wall buildings, paintings, plastering. So we can manage 10 renovations at one time to move forward and to assure the highest quality of work finishing. Our carpenters actually are seeing one of the best in the downtown of Istanbul. We have 4 carpenters that can produce for you kitchen and any built-in furniture. As well, we have a great carpenter, flooring carpenter. He's one of the best. All clients just fascinating with his job. The job that he's doing, I haven't seen actually for 16 years that I have been in Istanbul, and I have been working with different carpenters. Our flooring carpenter, I can say 100% is the best. He can fix anything what is belongs to the floor, to the parquet, wooden floor, whatever flooring you will give him. So from the interior design perspective, we have teams that working on floor planning drawings, on creating nice different design, depends on the style of the apartment and taste of the clients. We have professional interior designers and professional renovation manager control engineers that help us to keep eye and control every step of the renovation to assure the high quality and very clean finishing of every corner in the apartment. So I would like to say also about Anton that is such a great client that could make his own research before he came to us, and he already knew about Istanbul a lot, about new builds, about the secondary hand market of apartments. So when we met Anton, it was so easy to work with him. We explored whole Kaykhane together. We went to many new builds. And after all that research, we understood that the best one is here. Because, as he said, the high ceiling and the quality of this building construction really great. And give very different feelings and create very different environment for the guests who are gonna stay here.
That's right. So we're recording this on Good Friday, the 15th of April, 2022. The last year has been a year of a lot of change in the worldwide real estate market. A lot of markets have skyrocketed over the last year. In Turkey, there have been all sorts of other factors that have provided for changes to the real estate market, and I'm sure that all of these markets, both here in Turkey and in Istanbul as well as elsewhere, will take unexpected twists and turns already in the next few months and in the coming years. So when you watch this video, keep in mind the date of when this was recorded, as there will be A lot of changes as time goes by, but as it stands right now, I think Turkey and Istanbul here provides for a good opportunity for anybody around the world who wants to diversify their real estate holdings and their personal situation in terms of having an additional place to stay in an additional city that has a lot of the conveniences that we will have in almost any place around the world, and that it is a realistic way to get to such a situation without paying anywhere near the prices that we see today in the major cities such as Paris, London, New York, and so forth. As of today, the middle of April of 2022, the prices at this point are significantly lower here in Turkey and in Istanbul than you will find in those types of large cities around the world. That may change. Maybe Istanbul narrows the gap between it and these other large brand name metropolises around the world, but that remains to be seen. In the meantime, I would say that Turkey and Istanbul remains a liquid market. It is a fairly rational real estate market where things are pretty much straightforward. So if you're used to doing real estate transactions in most places around the world, I would say that you will find a great deal of familiarity when you approach the Turkish real estate market.